Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at getting this BG55 running. This is the Stihl BG55 leaf blower. I cannot get mine started. A while back I did a video on pulling the carburetor off, taking it apart, cleaning it, putting it back together, and we got it running there. Well, in this video we are just going to be looking to replace the carburetor, replace the spark plug, air filter, and just a quick easy job that most of you will be able to do if you order up this kit from HIPA. Now, HIPA, H-I-P-A, is a company that reached out and said, hey, we'd love to work with you. We'd like to send you some parts for the machines that you have. Let's start with your leaf blower. And they sent me over this new carburetor, a new gas filter, an air filter, spark plug, a couple extra primer bulbs in case they're needed, and a couple seals for where the carburetor goes on. So we're going to get into replacing all that today, but first we're going to take a look at a few simple things you can look at before the carburetor replacement to see if maybe those are the problems. Before we really get into looking at those parts, you guys are going to need some tools for that carburetor replacement and looking at a few things on here. The first thing you're going to need is a spark plug wrench. All right, I have the Stihl wrench. Everybody knows this scrunch, okay? If you have this one, even better, because on this machine, we are going to need this T27 torque bit, okay? And if you don't have that, that's all right. You can go ahead and get yourself one of these like multi-torques or whatever, you know. I will have links to Amazon, though, to the stuff I'm using here. It's same or similar, including that carb kit and the tools, all right, guys? So you can order this stuff right up. You'll be ready to go. Buy through those links. I get a little bit of kickback. You help support the channel. Bing, bang, boom. I appreciate it. All right, so anyway, the T27 torque. You'll also need a 15mm socket with an extension. Doesn't have to be this long. You know, it's either got to be a deep well socket or have a little bit of an extension on it. Obviously a ratchet for that. And then you're going to need an 8mm socket wrench as well. BG55, what is one of the first things we want to do if we're going to be working on it? We want to make sure we've drained the gas. I know this sounds funny, but sometimes we leave the gas in all season. We forget to drain it. That old gas is not good for your carburetor. Chances are if you left gas in the machine, there's gas still in the carburetor, it's gummed it up. That's why we're replacing it. Now, I go in here, I've already drained the gas in the machine. You should drain this old gas as well. Dispose of it properly for your area and wherever you're at. While we have the gas cap off, let's take a look at the gas filter. Oh, the kit provided by HIPA, which again, I'll have linked down in the description, comes with a brand new gas filter. I'm not sure if we're going to need it, so let's go ahead and take a look. If you look right down here in the gas tank, there's the existing gas filter. All right, and if you have to get it out, you can use something like the wrench here, pull it up close, hook it with a piece of wire, pop it out, pop those off. I don't need to. Mine's in good shape. I'm looking at that filter. There's nothing on it. Looks good, looks clean. Perfect. So I'm going to put my gas cap back on. I'm going to leave that filter alone. The next thing I want to do is check the spark arrestor on the exhaust. This is where our 15mm socket comes in. Go ahead, pop the machine up. The exhaust is here on the bottom side. Get right in there. All right, break it loose. Pull that whole piece out. Okay, this is the little exhaust piece here. Bolts into the exhaust, but you guys get it. This is your spark arrestor, though. You've got this screen. Now you want to inspect this screen and see if it has clogs, if it has any buildup, anything like that, because you are running two-stroke gas, so if you didn't mix it properly, plus over time you can get a lot of carbon buildup anyway on this screen. If you got a lot of carbon buildup, sometimes I'll soak these in brake cleaners, scrub them down, or you can order up a new one. I'll see if I can find a new one of these on Amazon. I'll link that down in the description as well, in case you need to replace it. The other thing you want to look at is right down the center. I get mud wasps when I'm not using this all the time. They get in there and they clog this thing up, and then your machine won't start, and that gets frustrating as well. So mine looks good, looks clear. Obviously inspect yours and see what you need to do. Pop that bad boy back in there. We want to start thinking about removing that carburetor. The machine won't start, or it won't stay running very long. You hit the gas, it stalls, those sorts of things. We already know the fuel line's clear. We already know the exhaust is clear. Maybe you just need a filter. Maybe it's the air filter, right? Maybe that's what you need. You squeeze that, pull this off. here's your air filter. This one, it's pretty grimy, oily, nasty. Is it still usable? Yeah, more than likely, but we're going to replace it. This is the new filter HIPAA sent me to use, and this would just pop right back on here, boom, and we would be done, ready to go. But the nice thing with this kit, we get more than just an air filter. We get that carburetor, that spark plug, and those gaskets. So we're just going to replace all that. Let's get into replacing all that. What do we need to do? Well, we want to take out all the screws on this side, all right? That's where your T27 torque's going to fit in there, whether it's this kind or something different, no big deal. Get in here and let's remove all these screws. All right, so real quick, I removed these screws up here, okay? These are, see this thread? This is a plastic thread, okay? These ones down on the bottom have more of a machine thread. So just keep in mind what screws are coming out of where, so you guys can pay attention when it's time to reassemble. See the difference? Whoop. See the difference there? Very, very coarse. This is still coarse, but they're not the same, okay? So pay attention as to where you pull your screws out, so you can put them back in the same place. All right, get all the screws out, set them aside in a safe place. You don't want to lose them. With those out, this orange cover right here should pull off one whole piece. Let's set that aside. Next, we've got this white shroud up here. This is going to come off next. Now, if you're having a struggle with this, you could also remove that spark plug first, but for the most part, it should just pop out. Sometimes this little rod gets stuck in here. You can use a flathead and kind of just work it around so it stays in place, okay? No big deal. If all this comes out, just put it back in, put everything on this side. Take this cover, set that aside. Grab our 8mm socket. Get right in here. Start working on getting off these two little nuts. So there's two little nuts right here, okay? For part of the air filter. Take the back of that filter cover off. If this is dirty, clean it. Blow it off, clean it off, you know, whatever needs to be done. Same thing with that top plastic cover. If you need to clean these, now's a great time. Clean them. All right, so here's our carburetor. Let's take a look at it real quick. Let's just see how it is set up. And take our new carburetor in our hand and let's look at everything, right? How is this going to go on here? Right? That's how I like to do things. All this stuff looks very similar. Our lines go on the bottom. Perfect. So we're looking at a carburetor. We got gas lines down here. Let's see if they're going to come right off for us. They may not. Sometimes they do. Nope. So, and go ahead, take a small flathead. Be careful. You don't want to rip your gas lines. Otherwise, you're going to have to order that up next. Kind of just carefully pry it down. Watch your eyes, as sometimes there can be gas in those lines, guys. You really don't want it hitting you in the face. All right, so that one's off. Let's see if we can get this one off without sliding the carburetor off yet. We might have to, though. We may have to. Yeah, we're going to have to get this carb off the rest of the way. We're looking at the side. We got one gas line off. We want to be able to just take this carburetor all the way off. All right, but you can see our throttle linkage right here is holding it on. So you can slide it forward and see, will that work? Can I move this? All right, we're monkeying around here with this thing. It's really not going to come out very easily. It doesn't want to go. And I don't want to bend this throttle rod. So we're going to slide that back in. We're going to come over here, pop this off our spark plug. Take your spark plug wrench, pull your wrench off. We're just getting things out of the way. We're going to replace this anyway before we're done. Let's get it out of the way. Now let's get up here. This is your trigger, right? Your throttle. It's connected to the throttle rod. Let's slide this straight off. Now, we can take that whole linkage all the way down to here, fiddle around with it until it pops out. Keep these right together. Keep in mind how that went back in, okay? Or how it came out, because it's got to go back in the same way. So I'm going to set that aside. Now you should be able to take your carburetor and slide it straight off. Okay? The only thing holding it is this one gas line. Again, I'm going to try to just take my flathead and get right up at the very end of that gas line. Take your time. Do your best to not rip it. It's a whole different job if you got to replace this. Not horrible. Definitely doable. But boom, there it is. Now this carburetor has, because I was trying to start it, it's got some gas in there. No big deal. We're setting this thing aside. But you can see the seal is stuck right on. So it's nice that HIPAA sends you 2 brand new ones. That is a plus. Now what I'm going to do is look at this seal. Nothing special about it. So set that aside for now. Let's see what we got going on here. We've got a seal on here. We're just going to leave that. We're not even going to play with it. Leave that alone. We're going to grab our new carburetor. Flip it around till it's the same position the old one was. And you got 2 brass nipples coming down, okay? And you got your 2 gas lines. So if this is sitting in front of you this way, you turn your carburetor so the bulb is facing you, and you have the first brass nipple facing you. That goes on the first gas line. We're not going to put that one on right away, though. We're going to put the second one on, the one in the back. So slip that on. Work it all the way up, and then grab that front one. Grab that front one, slip that on, kind of just working it nice and easy. I try not to use pliers these days with these things because they can just rip. Now I'm leaving this on. This is not a paper gasket on here. This is more like a rubbery kind of gasket. There's no cracks. It looks sealed it looks like it'll still seal really, really well. So I'm going to leave that on. Now I'm going to work this carburetor back. It's back in place. That's it. We're already cooking. All right, carburetor's on, lines are on. Now we need to talk about the throttle and the throttle rod. Come back around to this side. Work your throttle rod. Work your throttle rod back in. Take that linkage. All right, spin it, pop it, lock it, back into place. See, that's what I'm talking about right here, this piece. You got to twist it and move it, but don't bend the rod, okay, guys? Get that back in place. Okay, so the rod goes down, up to here. Move the trigger so it's coming down like this. Slip it over the metal post. Now there is a wire back here. If this wire comes off the post for some reason, slip it back on. Put your trigger on. Boom. I'm going to leave the spark plug out for now. Okay, so now we have this stuff ready to go. Let's go ahead here and take a look at what we've got going on as far as these seals. I'm not sure why this one has 2 holes. It doesn't really look like I'm going to need, or 3 holes. It doesn't look like I need it. So I'm going to take the 2 hole that they've got. I'm going to just slip this on. Lines up nicely. If you look, it's got some angles. I'm just kind of matching those angles up and just slipping that on there. Okay. With that on, we're going to go ahead and take this plastic piece that we removed and you guys cleaned. And we're going to just pop that on. All right, so that's there. Now this is where you're going to go ahead and grab your 2 little nuts and your socket. See if you can get those on. Now these ones are not flange nuts. I will admit I got this machine used, so these might be just some replacement ones that someone had. I know my chainsaws have a flange nut, so you can put it in the socket like this and it doesn't go down in like that just did. But if you don't have a flange nut on there and they're just regular, you know, nuts like these, start it with your fingers like that and go ahead, get your socket in there. Tighten them down. Nice and snug. All right, that's all set. Our linkage is all set. Give that a little squeeze, everything stays together. That's moving. Cool, gas lines are on. Next is our spark plug. Here's the one that came. This is the one that was in the machine. This is the one we're gonna put in. This is a Savior spark plug. This is what came with the HIPAA kit. We're gonna go ahead. Actually, you know what? Let's leave that out. Let's put our plastics on first, so it's not in our way, right? Now, sometimes this takes a little bit of fiddling around. There is a spot on the inside that metal post has to line up with, okay? So you do have to, you still kind of got to have some patience here, guys. I mean, not as much patience as cleaning a whole carburetor, but, you know, you got to be willing to spend a little time, pull it apart, do it yourself kind of thing. So this popped together all well and good. This is now, I'm going to take the 4 coarse thread screws. I think we're only going to need 3 right away, but we're going to take those. I kind of want to just get them in there, so I don't have to worry about this piece moving, all right, while I'm trying to put on the lower section. Don't put this one in yet. Let's grab our orange cover here. The reason we can't put that one in yet, because the orange, that's what holds the orange cover on, one of those screws. The last coarse thread goes at the top hole for the orange screw, and the other 3 go down and around. Those are all nice and snug. I'm going to go ahead and take that new spark plug. I'm going to seat that guy down in place. Start it by hand, then use your wrench to put that in nice and snug. So we've got pretty much everything done, right? I mean, that was pretty simple. Let's grab our new air filter. All right, this is what we're looking at. The soft, spongy side of the filter, so it's kind of hard and dense, soft and spongy. Have that spongy side facing out, facing you. Kind of monkey around here, see if you can't get this guy in place. And take your cover, you got to pop those in first, and then it'll snap down on. Okay guys, so we got the leaf blower out here. I have primed the bulb 3 times. 2, 3. Put the choke all the way on. Squeeze the trigger in, lock it, make sure it's on. Once it pops, turn your choke off. Well, I'd say the machine's running a lot better than it was. I know I didn't show you guys a prior video, but I couldn't get this thing fired up. And so I just went ahead, we swapped it out with that carburetor and that new spark plug, plus the new air filter, all from Hippo. Again, you guys can find that whole kit that I just used in the description down below. I'll link it to Amazon. You guys purchase through to help support me. Also, I will have a link directly to Hippo's website where they've got all kinds of carburetors and a bunch of different kits for maintenance on your equipment, from chainsaws to leaf blowers to weed whackers, all kinds of stuff on there. So if you've got a machine that's not being covered in this video, you guys can go to their website, see what they've got available, from carburetors, air filters, spark plugs to ignition coils. They got a lot of different stuff. So if you're looking for a part to help your machine run better or maybe get it started again, you can always go on there and check it out. Be sure to give me a thumbs up, hit subscribe, guys. Leave me a comment if this video helps you out. Appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you next time.